Epiphany is the moment that changes a life. I arrived at the sports complex early to catch the master before our pickleball practice. He was already warming up, looking fit, dynamic, and radiating vitality. I stepped onto the court, stretching alongside him, my mind carrying a heavy load of lingering questions from the past few days. Once my breathing steadied, I softly spoke up. "Master, I often hear people mention the word ngoko, which means epiphany. But what exactly is it?" The master paused his warm-up, looked at me cheerfully, and asked in return, "In your opinion, what is the exact moment that causes a person to change profoundly?" I thought for a moment before answering. "Perhaps it is when they go through a major life event or learn a profound lesson." The master nodded, taking slow steps across the court. "That is true, but that is only the surface. In reality, a profound change originates from the moment a person attains an epiphany regarding the true nature of something. It is not an ordinary intellectual understanding, but an inner illumination, an understanding that leads to a powerful transformation in one's thoughts, actions, and entire life." I listened intently, my heart still wondering. "Then, how can a person attain this epiphany, Master?" He resumed his warm-up, his steady voice blending with the rhythm of his footsteps. "There are 3 paths that lead a person to an epiphany. First is self-reflection, contemplating the small things in life. This is the noblest path, usually arises from a tranquil mind. Second is experience, going through adversities, paying the price with time, money, or even pain and loss. This is the bitterest path. Third is learning, proactively learning from the success of others, from knowledge and from life lessons. This is the wisest path." I nodded, but my forehead wrinkled slightly. "Master, self-reflection requires a tranquility that is not easy to attain, while experience involves too much pain and loss. So is learning from the success of others the path I should choose?" The master didn't rush to answer. He directed his gaze and pointed toward the professional pickleball players competing fiercely on the adjacent court, asking me, "In your opinion, to be able to hit extraordinary shots like them, what would you do?" I answered quickly, "I would observe them play, learn their perfect movements and postures, and then practice accordingly. I admire them so much." Just as the words left my mouth, a thought flashed through my mind, clear in every single word. Instead of admiring the success of others, it is better to learn from their process of growth. I froze, my eyes widening. The master burst into laughter, stepped forward, and gently tapped his finger on my head. That moment when you exclaim, "Ah, so that's how it is," that is exactly an epiphany. That moment doesn't just make you understand the issue, it immediately urges you to pick up your paddle, act differently, and live differently. I laughed and rubbed my head, amused by his unexpected action, but then asked further, "Master, if having an epiphany is so important, why are there people who constantly experience and endlessly learn but never awaken to anything?" The master reached for a towel to wipe his sweat, his voice gentle. "An epiphany doesn't solely come from learning or experiencing, it depends on the mind's readiness to receive. Some people can stand right in front of the majestic Mount Tai and still fail to recognize it as Mount Tai simply because they lack the right conditions and haven't opened their hearts." He turned to look at me, his eyes compassionate yet incredibly resolute. "Your mission, if you want to help others, is absolutely not to force them to change their actions, but to create a context where they can attain an epiphany themselves. When they awaken on their own, they will transform on their own. And that change will be far more sustainable than any command." I looked at him, the dark patches in my mind gradually being illuminated. "Then, Master, if at work, I want to help my teammates attain an epiphany so they can work more effectively, what should I do?" The master picked up his paddle, lightly rotating his wrist. "Help them understand the true nature of what they are doing. Do not use commands, use guiding questions. When they find the meaning for themselves, they will awaken. The more they awaken, the clearer their comprehension becomes. The clearer their comprehension, the more powerful their capacity for action." I enthusiastically continued, "What about applying this to educating children? What if I want the kids to understand the meaning of practicing sports? The master smiled as he adjusted my grip on the paddle. Make the children understand why they need to practice, not through dry theory, but by creating joy and a sense of small victories in every practice. When children realize that sports are not just about sweating through exercises, but about joy, health, and confidence, they will naturally awaken to the reason to keep going. He took a step back, getting into a serving stance, but didn't forget to give me one final piece of advice. Always remember, small questions lead to small epiphanies. Great questions lead to great epiphanies. The people who achieve monumental transformations in life are those who dare to embrace great questions. If you know how to ask the right questions for yourself and for others, you will help them transform their entire lives. Just like practicing pickleball, when you awaken to the true nature of every ball contact, you will progress faster than anyone else. That afternoon, I left the sports complex with a completely different mindset. I had awakened to a simple yet profound truth. Instead of struggling to mold the actions of others, I merely need to create the right context and ask the right questions so they can attain their own epiphany. Because once an epiphany occurs, all transformation will unfold in the most natural and sustainable way possible.